Good evening, everyone. My name is Lamide, Marketing Support at Atlantic. We sincerely apologize for the delay. We had just a bit of some technical issues. All right, so hi everyone again. Welcome to our first Grow with Atlantic webinar of 2023. Now, this session is brought to you off our continuous Love in Nigerian brand series, and it's our hope and belief that at the end of this session, you learn practical ways to develop brand love for your business. And our facilitator for today is none other than Mr. Gideon Thompson. So what are we going to discuss today? What are we going to talk about today? So today we're going to be talking about building a loved brand. Just before we get into it, I'll just give a few of our house rules. Note that there will be a question and answer session after the conversation with Gideon. So please feel free to send in your questions using the Q&A box while the session is ongoing. You can also share in the chat box what industry you are in, where you're joining us from, what your role is, so we can get to know you and meet you. Also, don't forget to join the conversation online using #GrowWithAtlantic, and don't forget to tag @Atlantic on Instagram. If by any chance you drop off the call at any time, please reconnect using the link that was emailed to you. And right after this conversation, a link of this recording or a recording of this session will be emailed to you. So right before we get into the conversation, let's just talk a little bit about Atlantic. Now, Atlantic is an advertising services company that provides easy, flexible, and affordable advertising packages for businesses to help them reach their customers through different platforms. Whether you are a micro business at the early stage of building your brand or a medium-sized business with an already established brand, Atlantic has the right bundle for you. To find out more or get started on your Atlantic journey, visit our website, www.atlantic.com, and follow our social media pages at Atlantic on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Now, to kickstart the conversation, I'd like to introduce our dear speaker for today, Mr. Gideon Thompson. He's an expert brand strategist with a decade of involvement in building and managing brands across Africa. He's also the lead strategist of Econ Grey, a brand growth company in Lagos, and also serves as the managing partner of the firm. He has built, launched, and managed brands in a number of industries and has contributed to the knowledge in the marketing communication industry with his book, Zero Budget Branding, and his many frameworks and brand strategy models. He's also a trainer and consultant and enjoys reviewing new Afrobeats music for fun. Gideon, please say hello to the audience.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this amazing session, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you, learning from you, right? And, helping your business grow in partnership with Atlantic. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, Gideon. I will just have to hand over the conversation to you to take us through the session. So over to you, Gideon.
Yeah, thank you so much. But before I start, I really, really am excited for this. I think when we started talking about this session, I particularly said that I'm excited because it's very interesting to see brand companies or advertising firms get very interested in the growth of their customers, and not just their customers, of the general community, right? Because we live in a world where everybody wants to take, nobody's giving back. So it's interesting to see a platform like Atlantic doing this. And so, I mean, this is a great initiative. I must commend it. And I am sure that from this would have more informed brand owners, brand managers, and brand custodians who can, take decisions that can help their brand become a loved brand. So thank you guys again, for having me. I'm super excited to be here. So let's get on the road. So before we started by saying that you should introduce yourself in the comment box. I want to know everybody. I want everybody to know me. I mean, Olamide has done a fantastic job by sharing, talking about me. So I really want to know everybody. So leave your name, what you do, in the comment box. I really want to know what we all do, so we can. I mean, you can find a client in the comment box. Somebody can look at you and say, I was looking for a social media manager, or I was looking for a real estate company, and get opportunity to get business from this. So, I mean, go ahead, leave a comment with your name, what you do in the comment box. Let's get to know ourselves. Thank you so much. Great. Before we start, I also want to know, from your experience of doing business, what do you think your customers care about the most? From your experience of being in business, of doing business, what do you think, from general experience, what do you think your customers care about the most? Is it a great price? Is it a great quality or great features? Yeah, thank you so much for this pop-up. I'd love everybody to vote on this so we can decide quickly. Let's know what do our customers really care about? What do they really care about? I'll wait for you. Go ahead and vote. Let your vote count. Trust me, this one will count. This vote will count. So go ahead and leave a vote, a quick one. It's just a click. We'll know what you think. Great. Are we doing that? Because I need everybody to have a say in this. What do you think, by your experience? What has been your experience in the market? If you run a business, if you manage a business, if you work for people, what has been your experience? What do they really care about? I can see some people leaving comments, value for money and quality, fantastic. But I need you to vote on it so we can collate. So I can be the INEC chairman in this matter and say, okay, this is after fulfilling, the law, this is the winner of this poll. So can we have a winner, please? Is there a winner already? Do you have enough votes? Can we check the winner? Oh, great quality. Fantastic. Great quality. We all agree that our customers, about 88% of us, agree that our customers want great quality. I hope we're not just saying this. I hope our practice, well, I mean, it's informing our product design and our product experience and our business experience and all of that. Great. So from your poll, right, it is clear that you understand that your customers want to have great quality every time they engage you. So quality in service, quality in service experience, quality in product, general quality. Yeah, let's keep putting our name and what we do in the comment box, so we get to know ourselves as we go along. Great. But in this conversation today, our focus would be on a fourth factor, what I call a fourth factor in this context, right? And that is that there is something else. There's an extra that customers are looking for whenever they engage in our business. There's something else they're looking for that goes beyond a great price, a great quality, and all of that. There's something else the customer is looking for, and that is the need to feel connected. The need to feel connected to an idea and a brand. The need to feel connected to an idea and a brand, right? So our conversations this evening will be around that fourth factor, right? Around that deep emotional connection that customers can have and should have with our businesses, right? The deep emotional connection that customers should have with our businesses, right? Love brands are not just brands that consumers like, all right, or brands they just buy. They are brands that consumers are devoted to. They're connected to and devoted to, right? They're connected to and they're devoted to. While growing up, you realize that certain products that our parents would always buy, regardless of the situation. You know, personally, my family, my mom was a very big fan of Close-Up for no reason. She loved the product, right? For no reason, she loves the product. She always wants, I mean, no matter how difficult it is, go the distance to buy Close-Up. If it's not close, go the distance to buy Close-Up, right? There's Pepsodent in the store. I don't care. There is Colgate. I don't care. I'm looking for Close-Up and Close-Up only. For some of us, it's Coca-Cola. For us, if it is not Coke, I'm not drinking. If it is not Coke, I'm not interested. For some other people, it is Apple products. No matter the innovation or the quality of product, right, that Samsung has, if it is not Apple, I am not interested, right? So we're talking about that level of commitment. We're not talking about we're not talking about a situation where consumers are making decisions based off on quality of, based on the quality of the product or the price. We're talking about the dimension where the consumer is making purchase decision based off on the emotional connection to a business and a brand, right? Great. So I'm going to move further and ask you again. Today, if you move your business to a new location, right? If you move your business to a new location, right? How will your existing customers react? Please, let's check that out. Let's check that out. Another vote. This one could be Senate, so try. If you move your business to a new location, how will your existing customers react? Number one, I said, find a closer option or travel all the way to patronize you. Or just stop buying from you and move on, right? Or recommend your business to others within your location. Let's vote. How would they react if you move your business to a new location? How would they react? Let's vote. Let's be fast so we can, get this energy rolling. Let's be fast. Do I have enough votes now? Can we check that out? Can we check out what people think about their businesses at this point and what their customers' reaction would be if they move their current location? So look at this from two perspectives. If you're doing an online business, look at it from if you delete your social media page or you open a new page or you rebrand totally, change your name and whatever you change, we did start looking, oh, there's this brand that I used to love, or we did just let me just continue buying makeup let me get my face beat from this new person, all right? Or let me just get this other company to handle my social media. When you move, right? If you move right now, how will your customers react to that move, to that movement? Do you have enough votes now? Let's review the votes. Great. Recommend your business to others within your new location. Great. I love that you indicated that, and it's top. The other people in their truth said they'll find a closer option. Fantastic. I love that. However, again, these conversations we're about to have is for a situation where consumers and customers, right, will do anything to keep your business going, right? At this point, they feel more like an obligation to stay connected to you. Right? They don't want you to lose profits. They don't want you to, they just want to always make sure that you're in business regardless, right? So let me do the last poll before we hit this conversion, before we make this conversion and go smoothly. One last poll, guys. If for any reason you are out of business, the other one was if you move, right? This one is if you are out of business. If for any reason your business shuts down today, how will your customers react to it? If your business shuts down today, if you don't have anything I mean, you're out of business, no capital, no profit, nothing. You're out of business. Your inventory is finished. How will your customers react to it? Today you're out of business. I think one global bank, one bank in the US, SVB, recently went bankrupt, right? So that's a situation of a very big business going on there. How would customers react to it? So in your situation, in your small business, in your medium-sized business, in your large business and big business, how would customers react to you, going out of business? Have you voted? Have you voted? Have you voted? Have you voted? Great, let's review the votes quickly. Let's review the votes. Great, they start patronizing another business immediately. Great, they'll reach out to you to help. I like people who, the 45% who says they reach out to you to help. I mean, that means we are on track. We are on track. Everybody here is on track to building a loved brand. That shows me that we're on track, right? That shows me on track. And this conversation would help us deepen what it is we're doing right now that is positive, that is great, so that we can have more people, right? More people. And for those who honestly believe that the customers will just move on, and start and present another business. This is a conversation that you want to listen to. They want to take a pen and paper to write something that I want to make a note on your phone. We want to make sure that you're following, because this is the conversation that helps us move our customers from just patronizing us, right, to become fans and lovers of our business, right? So let me tell you a story of a German football club, right, in Berlin. It's called Union Berlin, right? It's pronounced Union, but it's spelled Union, pronounced Union Berlin, right? So Union Berlin, right? The stadium is one of the oldest and most enduring elements of the club's identity, right? It's older than even the colors of the club. It's older than the badge of the club. It's older than the oldest supporters, right? The stadium is the oldest. Right, in 1960, in the 90s, rather, in the 90s, the stadium was deemed unfit, right, for games, and they were instructed to rebuild the stadium, right? So if you are a fan of football, you understand that the moment you don't have the stadium means obviously you can't even be playing football. There's no stadium where except you want to use your training field, which obviously will not be the standard for a football match, right? So this was a football club going under, right? And interestingly, or unfortunately, the club didn't have enough money, right? It was a small club at the time. It didn't have enough money and not enough employees, right? So in 2008 and 2009, right, 2,333 men and women, right, volunteers, they worked over 140,000 hours to rebuild the stadium. I mean, 2,333 people, men and women, came together and rebuilt a stadium for the club in Germany, right? Simply because they can't afford that their favorite brand or their favorite platform, right, or football club, right, goes under. They can't afford that. So what they did was they came together, and there's if you go to YouTube, there's a lot of video on the process, the pictures everywhere on how they committed to the redevelopment, of the stadium, right? Building a love brand is one of the most amazing things that can happen to a business. Right? Because like I always say, that your brand is somewhat of an insurance policy for when everything goes under, for when everything fails, right? When everything fails, your brand somehow is your ticket back to a good life. If you build a strong and lovable and loved brand, is a ticket to coming back into the market. It's a ticket, there was a time where I'm going to share a bit of that as I go forward, but quickly, I'm going to throw this in. There's a time when Nokia was out of the market totally, right? Because they weren't fast, they weren't quick to jump into to use the Android OS and innovate, right? And they failed on that ground. However, consumers were waiting for them to come back, and they made a comeback. They made a comeback a couple of years after, and people still patronize the business, right? It tells you that there are people who stay committed to a brand even when they've gone on that. People, I mean, go all the way to say, can you even look at your favorite artists when they are not releasing songs? People go to social media and say, we're waiting for a new album. Please drop a new album. We want to hear from you. That is how our brand should come to become, right? So much love that consumers and customers can't afford for your business to go under. Can't afford to go for your business to go under. Great. So I want you to understand that building a love brand requires a deep understanding of your customers. That's the first thing. Right? That's the first thing. It requires a deep understanding of your customers, right? An inspiring brand story, right? And a great experience and a community of advocates, right? Committed to innovation and evolution. That's how you build a love brand. But first, let's start with the first one, which is that to build a love brand, you need to first understand your customers, right? Understand your customers. So I'm gonna make this very relatable, right? I'm gonna make this very relatable. Great. Somebody said something a while ago that marketing is like relationship. It's like asking a girl out on a date, right? It's like asking a girl out on a date. If you want a guy that you're dating, right, to really love you, right, to really, really love you, first you want to demonstrate that you understand them. I mean, all of us here probably have been in relationships or are in relationships, right? And one of the problems, whenever there's friction in our relationships, one of the things people say is, "Oh, you don't understand me. Oh, I wish you understood me. Oh, you don't have an understanding. You don't know how to deal with me. You don't have an understanding of what I like and what I don't like, right?" So the first thing to get love is to understand the person you are expecting love from. I hope I make sense. The first step of getting love is having an understanding of the person you're demanding, you're expecting love from, right? That's the very first step. And this goes beyond just market research. This goes beyond market research, right? It takes intentionality to grind out the hopes, the dreams, the fears, the aspirations of the people you intend to market to, or or your customers or your consumers, right? Going beyond the surface physiological, psychological analysis to go deeper into their behaviors, right? Into who they are at the base, at the very base, right? I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example. A closet company, right? A company that specializes in producing closets, right? They were making research on the best kind of closets to produce. And part of the process, they did a research, and it was supposed to be an observatory research where they would sit with the women who have closets to remodel, and have conversations with them on why they want a better closet, what a better closet looks like to them, right? And so this researcher went into the room, sat down with the lady, and started having a conversation about her closet, right? She took him to her closet and showed him around and said, "Okay, this is my closet," and all of that. And I said, "So why do you want a great closet?" And she went ahead, was talking plenty about, I need a minimal, she was talking everything that you have top of mind, at a very basic level, right? Now, I'm talking about grinding to understand the consumer to the very core. And so this researcher asked her, he said, "So when your closet is disorganized, how does that make you feel?" Right? Immediately she said, "Makes me feel ashamed." Right? Now he understood what really his consumers, what really is their fears. He understands what their aspiration was, right? And he's able to tap into that. I mean, from the conversation with the researcher, right? She literally broke down in tears when she was explaining a scenario, because he went ahead and said, "Okay, can you explain the scenario where you felt ashamed when your closet was unkempt and all of that?" And she went ahead to explain a scenario where friends came to the house and all of that, and she literally was in tears. Right? That tells you that this is who your consumers are at the very base, right? That people who are ashamed, right, to show people. They want to show people, but they can't. They really want to, but they can't. Now, this goes beyond, oh, he's a 15-year-old. It is a deep dive into the very fabric of the being of the person you are targeting. This is very important. It's very important because until you understand the people you want to connect with, until you understand their reality, right? Until you understand their fears and their aspiration, you can't appeal to their emotion, because we have to understand that people. We're emotional beings, right? We buy out of how we feel, not necessarily. We buy and then we rationalize it. We buy based on how we feel, and then we try to make sense of it, right? And then we try to make sense of it. Oh, the quality is great because of. I mean, the whole of people you ask, why do you have an iPhone 14? That's always a great camera. It's not a great camera. If you drill deep into the reason, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that, right? So the first step to building a love brand is understanding your customers, number one. Number two, understanding that your customers, right, are emotional beings, and you're able to drill beyond the surface to understand the reason that they want to engage with you, right? That they want to engage with you. Great. So I'm going to throw one last poll before we go ahead. So guys, help me with the poll. Have you tried to find out why your customers really buy from you? Have you tried to find out why your customers really buy from you, particularly the ones that always come back? Have you tried to find out why your customers always buy from you? Have you tried to ask them? Have you tried to, I mean, if you own a store, an office, or you have a client, have you asked them, why is it that you always reach out to me when you want to? Why is that you always reach out to me? Why? Right? Have you tried to find out why they will? I mean, going beyond the very surface to understand what is it about, your relationship with them that is so important that that you can tap into to build or to deepen the connection with the brand. Let's partake. Let's take the survey quickly, please. Thank you. Quickly. Have you ever attempted it? Have you ever sat down or constructed a questionnaire or sat down with your customers and say, why do you really buy from me? Or you just take their money and let's review the poll, please. Great. No, I just focus on sale. Great. So you say that you're missing out on, because see, if you don't understand why they come, you will not understand how to keep them. If you don't understand why they come, you can never understand what will keep them. If you don't understand why they come, right? You will not understand how to keep them, right? So the first I said is understanding the consumer. That's the first thing you have to do if you have to build brand love. The second thing you have to do, or the next step to take, right, is to create a brand story, is to create brand stories that resonates with the consumer, the customer's emotions, right? Now you understand why they should care. Now you understand why they should care about you, why they should be committed to you. Now you know, right? The next thing to do is to begin to create stories, right, that connect with them. Now, this is why stories are important, right? Stories stop people on their track. Stories stop people on their track, right? And make them follow you. Stories make people stop on their track and make them follow you. I'll give an example. So while I was in university, I think it was 100 level, 200 level. I had finished from school. I was going back home. So on my way home, I jumped into a cab, and we're headed home. On the trip, the people beside me, I was sitting behind, so 3 people, 2 people beside me, right? They were having this amazing conversation about their trip to Dubai. It was a long conversation, and they were reliving the experience. I mean, it was an interesting conversation. I had never traveled to Dubai at the time, but so I was very fascinated. I loved everything about the Middle East at the time. I loved it so much, and I still do. So they were having these interesting conversations, I mean, I literally followed them. I was filling my phone, but I paid so much attention, right? I paid so much attention to what they were saying because I was connected to the story. And I followed them beyond my junction, right? I followed them almost close to their house because stories. I mean, women can tell. I mean, women can tell. And even guys can tell. You know, while we're younger, while in school, when you come to school to share the stories of the movies you've seen, you see people would always gather around you. They will always gather around you to listen to the actor and both story. You know, stories always stop people on their track. Whatever they are doing, they get distracted when they find a beautiful narrative, right? That is why people will binge a Netflix series for days. They shut down on their work, shut down on things they are doing, things that they would have done, and they stay connected to the story that Netflix is reeling out. And they stay there for weeks, you know, for a Netflix series, right? Because it stops people on their track and gets them to follow you, right? Great. So Phil Knight, I'm going to tell you another story. Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, was at a conference, right? And I asked the audience, how many of you have run for exercise, right? How many of you have run for exercise, right? People raised up their hand. He said, stand up if you've ever run for exercise. So a large number of people stood up, right? A large number of people stood up. So he said, if you run once a week, right, you can sit down, right? A large number of people sat down too. And he said, if you run twice a week, so that most people sat down. So he says 3 times a week, you know. And then he said, if you run 3 times a week, please sit down. So a lot of people sat down. So he said, if you run under the rain or sun or snow or whatever weather situation, please keep standing. And few people stood up. Few people were still standing, right? And then he said, the next time you're running, right? The next time you're running, before the sun is up and it's cold, right? And it's wet, right? And you're running all by yourself. Remember that we are standing by the lamppost and cheering you on, right? Remember that we're standing by the lamppost and cheering you on, right? And that is a very powerful story, right? And he said that is how he captured the Nike story. That is who we are, right? We are that brand that stands, you know, on the sidelines, right? And we're cheering you on to greatness, which is why Nike is not about winning per se. Their brand is not built around the concept of winning. It's built around the concept of trying, of doing, right? It's built around the concept of doing, right? Of trying, of taking action, right? Not necessarily winning. Adidas is built around success, right? This is built around, right, the rigor, the interest to try, right? That is what Nike is built around. And it's a very powerful story. It's a very powerful story that whenever you're running, when it's cold, remember that we are the brand that's standing by the sidelines and cheering you on, right? Such story want to capture you. And the truth is when you have a clear story, a clear brand story like that, when you have a story that ties into why the customer should care, and this tells you that, I mean, when Nike came into the market, they were targeting, Adidas was already established in the market. They were using celebrities, you know, and then they couldn't fight that market. So they were targeting the off track runners, right? People who were marathon runners and all of that. Those are people they were targeting, right? And so they know that what they care about, wherever you are running, if you've ever done it in early morning, right? I do it almost every day. Whenever you're running in the early hours of the morning, right? Particularly in a country like Nigeria, right? You get tired, you know, you're struggling to finish, right, your laps or to even get back, right? Or you're even scared, right? Nike is saying we are that brand that is always hanging around and saying, come on, keep going, right? And how do they hang around to tell you keep going? By producing, you know, footwears or you know, outfits or sport gears that are comfortable enough for you to express, you know, or keep trying and keep going, right? And you see how the story ties into the product development, how it ties into even their campaigns and all of that, right? It is when you have a clear story, it is very powerful. It helps you connect, because when you're selling products, right? When you're selling product, people can always substitute whatever it is you offer them. They can always find a substitute. When you sell at a very logical perspective, you're connecting to customers at price, there will always be somebody who's ready to sell cheaper. There'll always be somebody who is trying out a new approach, currently I saw a tweet on Twitter recently where somebody said there was a meme, right? It was a meme where somebody said, while Google and Microsoft and others are fighting the AI war, right? They're fighting the AI war. Who will win and dominate the AI market? Hello, can you hear me, please? Please confirm that you can hear me. Somebody, Florence just said she can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, great. So the meme said, everybody's trying to understand how who will lead the AI market. Apple is just quietly sitting down there and doing nothing. Apple is just sitting down in one corner, quietly watching and doing nothing, right? And somebody said, Apple is not interested in all of this. And that person commented and said, Apple don't even need to show they're interested, because people always buy. No matter how much innovation. Currently, Samsung is trolling Apple with their flip. They are trolling them every day with their flip. Customers are still buying Apple every day. They're not just buying it, they are talking about it, and they can't buy another brand. Right? They can't buy another brand. And if you remember when Steve Jobs came back to Apple after they were losing massive market share, and their product had flopped. When he came back, if you watch this, the video is on YouTube, right? One of just type, I think, greatest marketing strategy meeting ever, something like that. You find it on YouTube, where Steve Jobs is saying that we have to go back to why we really are in the market. Right. And then he starts where the story of to the misfits, to the, when you have a story that goes beyond the functional perspective of a product, right, connects to an emotional dimension, customers will stay hooked to you. They will stay hooked to you. They will stay hooked to you. They will stay hooked to you. Right. Even in music in the music industry, every artist that is doing so well have a story. They have a clear story that goes beyond the song they're singing, right? They have a story that goes, and you always hear it in interviews, you always hear the perspective in interviews and all of that, right? So the next thing, the first thing I said is understand your consumer, because first, if you don't understand them, you won't even know the kind of stories to build or the kind of stories to tell, right? So you have to have a clear understanding of your consumers, right? Number two, I said you have to be able to craft a solid brand story, right? And subsets of narratives that the consumers would care about, right? And this is something that Atlantic does amazingly. Atlantic, I mean, if you go through their client repertoire, if you go through their list of clients and the work they do with the clients, you see how much brand story how much they're engaging. They're helping clients engage, their customers with effective storytelling, effective brand storytelling. So this is something that I can guarantee you Atlantic is very solid at. Atlantic is a solid brand when it comes to helping you craft and tell a great story, right? So another thing, which is the third thing or the top step in the process, or the third thing that you should pay attention to when you want to build a love brand, right, is to pay attention to not just visual channels, but to the entire sensory dimensions, the full sensory dimensions of your consumers, right? When you tell stories and the story is only engaging one sensory organ of the consumer, right? And the perception is not full, or the perception is not, you're not engaging the customers from multiple angles, right? From multiple sensory channels, right? You may lose them. But, okay, let me give you a typical example. If you walk into a room and then you're watching a TV, and the TV is not, there's no sound in the TV, right? You almost get frustrated, right? You want to hear what they're saying, right? And then this is the magic or the beauty of 7D or 5D experiences, where you're watching. I think there's somewhere in Lagos also where you're watching. at least I've experienced that in some part of the world, where you're watching a movie and the problem is there's rain in the movie. You can literally feel, rain on. I mean, you can feel like there's rain, right? That you're feeling on your body, and you have these 3D glasses, which you feel immersive experience, like you're in the movie and all of that, right? So when you engage the consumers with multiple sensory channels, right? You get them, you get them committed, you get their emotions, locked, right, for longer. I mentioned Nokia before, and I'm going to say it again, that you cannot imagine, right, what the sound, what that sound did to the entire brand experience of Nokia. Now I'm saying the sound back to you in this minute. I can literally remember every note, right? But I've not heard the sound for so long. I've not used the Nokia phone for so long, right? But whenever I remember that sound, it evokes a thinking, right? It evokes a connection to the brand again, evokes the experiences of my childhood, experiences, right, of using that product, right? It evokes all of that because of engaging my auditory channel, right? So you have to be able to look at the look, the feel, the sound, the smell, and the taste of your brand, right? So go beyond just logo as a visual identity. Create audio sonic identities, right? Pay attention to how your brand feels. If you're very familiar with Ollie's is a snack. If you're very familiar with it, they play around with their sound, with the way it cracks. They play around with it, right? So if you don't just the taste of the snack, the way the way it cracks in the mouth when you grind it, right, is also a part of the identity. And you will not believe that there's a research on that sound, and it has to sound that way. Just like Coca-Cola, right? Whenever that sound comes, that gas burst comes up, that shh, right? It reminds you of the entire Coca-Cola experience, right? Of that soothing feeling you feel after drinking a bottle of Coke, after probably coming out from the sun and all of that. You feel better. So when you hear that sound, it has a way to evoke, to even tell you that, oh, I can feel, let me thank you very much. I can feel connected to that product, right? So I think Olayemi is very right. I'll love to take questions. I'll love to take questions quickly. I'll love to take one question so I can just wrap it up. I'm almost done. I'll wrap it up with just one question. I'll love to take one question so I can wrap it up. One question so I can wrap it up. I'll take one question so I can wrap it up. Or you can keep writing your questions, preparing them. Let me just wrap this up quickly. You can keep writing your questions or preparing them so we can have enough time to ask questions, right? Because I want everybody to ask enough questions. I need to be able to practicalize these things we're saying. I don't want to just feel like you're just hearing. I don't want you to ask me questions that totally impacts on your business, right? And what you're doing currently. And so the last thing, the last two things that we want to talk about is building a community around your brand. Right. So being able to build a community around your brand is one of the strongest ways to build brand love. Right. You see the work that most football clubs are doing, right? It is around building a community of a loyal fan base, a loyal fan base, right? A community, a loyal fan base around their brand. Right, so it goes beyond just posting content. It goes beyond just sharing posts and posting content. Right, it's intentionally building an army of loyalists, intentionally building an army of advocates, of people who love and want to connect to your brand. Right, and then finally, one of the final things you want to do or keep doing to build brand love is to keep innovating and evolving your brand. right? You have to keep innovating and evolving your brand. You have to pay attention, right? And that's one of the things that affected the Nokia brand. The brand was amazing. Consumers loved it, right? But it was time, the consumers needed an improvement in the experience, right? It was time to improve the experience and they were not doing it, right? And we're not doing it. So that's one of the things that affected their brand. So always pay attention to innovating, right? Innovating and evolving your brand, right? Great. I'm going to take questions now. Julius says, how can businesses measure, right? How can businesses measure or track the success of their efforts to becoming a love brand, and what metrics should they be paying attention to? Thank you so much for that question, right? Thank you so much for that question. So, because at the end of the day, what cannot be measured, what you cannot measure cannot grow, right? What you cannot measure cannot grow, right? And because you need to know where you are and where you want to get to, right? So how do you measure? How do you even measure all of this? How do you measure if the brand is loved or if the brand is lacking love and all of that? How do you measure that? So I think one of the things you can do is to measure the net promoter score, right? The net promoter score. And that is like, presenting a skill to the customers, right? Say you run a business, presenting a skill to the customers and say, right, on a scale to 0 to 10, right? How likely are you to recommend our brand? On a scale to 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our brand, right? It's a fantastic skill that can help you, give you insights into how much consumers are in love with your brand, right? You can also ask your customers, like some restaurants do it. They make a small note when you finish eating, and they give you your bill. They make a small note that asks you, how will you rate the experience, great meal and whatever. You can ask your customers, or beyond that, you can also interact with them. You can also sit down around where a lot of people in the beer industry do that. They sit down in the beer parlor and hear how the customers are talking about their brand. What are they saying, right, about the products? What are they saying? I think there's a particular beer brand that believed they were doing amazing, right? But when they went to sit, when they were sitting down with customers, they discovered that customers were actually buying them just because it was cheap, right? It wasn't because the same customers who bought today, when they have money tomorrow, probably went to work and came back from work. They will not buy from them anymore. They just buy from people who the brand they really want to patronize, right? So listening to the customers, or paying attention to the customers can give you pointers to how your brand is felt, by the customers. And also you can look at your engagements, your social media engagement, your sentiment analysis. And I know Atlantic can help you with that research. Another person says, how do you create a sonic trademark for a clothing brand? Fantastic question. How do you create a sonic trademark for a clothing brand? So first, I think the first question is to ask, how do you use, right? What did you use? What is the importance of a sonic identity or a sonic brand for a clothing brand, right? You do ads, right? You do ads. You want to be able to have a tone. Like if you hear Sabinus, we're all familiar with Sabinus, Sabinus's videos on Instagram. Whenever that sound comes up, he has a signature sound. When the sound comes up, you literally begin to almost laugh, right? Because he has a sound which he's consistent with, right? Very few online influencers and comedians have a signature tune. That tells you that it is very important to be able to use it to evoke attention, to capture attention, to evoke the emotion that your brand is consistent with and all of that, And so how do you create? It's simply, make a research. You have to make a research to understand what is the like we started by saying, what is the emotional connection that the customers have with you? What is your personality what is the personality that the consumers are expecting the brand to have? When you've done the entire research around your brand and understand the personality of your brand, you can now design a sound or a sound signature that aligns with that experience or that personality and structure, right? Right, and use it for multiple adaptations, for ads, even on your app. You have a clothing brand that has an app. You have to open the app or to make payment, details and aspects, you can put it into different aspects of your business. But make sure you first of all make a research to understand your brand. so that you don't have high life when your brand is supposed to be a future-facing brand, right? You're using high life music, which most Africans associate to, to the past, So you should be able to have future sound when you're designing a sound for a brand that's future-facing, right? If it's the brand that is supposed to tap into nostalgia, then high life is a fantastic approach to go, right? So the genre of the music or the genre of the sound has to align, right, with the purpose of the brand, right, the personality of the brand, right, and even the emotions, that the consumers want to connect with you on, right? So as someone said, you spoke about maintaining an emotional connection with your brand, right? It says what is the favorite practical step to achieving this, all right? So I think probably everything I've said so far are ways to achieving an emotional connection with your customers, right? But I'm going to add a few more quickly. One of them is, personalization, right? Customers want to always feel that you're thinking about them, particularly. Before it became popular, the first time I got a mail that had my name there, from a company, felt good. Before it became popular, it felt very good. So personalization is one of the ways to make your customers feel great. It's one of the ways to make your customers feel great. Make them feel like you're designing an experience or you're designing a product and experience for them, right? It's a great way. It's a great way to get connected, right? I mean, many brands use AI, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, to be able to achieve personalization. For example, if you go to Spotify or to platforms like Spotify, they're able to tell you, they're able to, to help you to introduce new songs to you that aligns with your interests, right? Personalizing the create a personalized playlist that aligns with your interests. That is one of the ways that people get connected with your brand when you're able to personalize your brand. Another thing is also to communicate. Most brands don't understand it, particularly whenever you're in crisis or you're dealing with something. Talk, have conversations. Let your customers always hear from you. Let them always, get to connect with you by hearing from you, right? And show empathy. It's not difficult. Show empathy. Show that you care, right? Show that you care. The customer. One of the things one of my friends, I told my friends when he was starting the business, I told him, I said, be quick to make a refund. The customers, that's empathy. That's one of the ways to show empathy. Be quick to make a refund. When a customer says, oh, this, great, I'm sorry. Thank you very much for having business with us. We hope you will come back again. Customers never forget that. They never forget how you make them feel, right? They never forget how you make them feel. And lastly, I think another way is to, surprise and delight them, right? Take the initiative, right? Some people. So if you run a small business, it won't take so much to write an official letter, with your hand or with type and sign. I used to belong to a church when I was in Port Harcourt, where if you're a first-time member, if you attend church on Sunday, by Monday, a mail, right, a letter will be delivered to you by DHL, right? To come with a parcel that has a church brochure and stuff like that. But you would have a mail that has a letter from the pastor signed with your name on it, right? And from the form you filled, they have an information that will make it very personal in the letter for you, right? Oh, pastor will say, oh, I've been praying. I got a prayer request on, I've been praying for God to help you, get admission. So you get a personalized letter from the pastor. So if you naturally just feel connected or feel a sense of connection to the brand, all right? I don't know if I answered the question. Please, more questions. I want to get more questions. Let's do for like 20 more minutes, 5, 10, 20 more minutes. Questions, please. Share questions.
Hi, Gideon. So we have a question from Felix in the chat. He's asking, what are the early signs that a brand is losing its brand love?
What are the early signs a brand is losing love? So I think one of the very first way you know that you're losing love, right? One of the very first ways, but I think that this is the ultimate reason a brand would invest in building an emotional connection or getting customers to love them is two reasons. One is repeat purchase, right? What repeat purchase means is customers who buy now will come and buy again, right? They always come back, right? So what that does is that what repeat purchase does that it reduces the amount you spend on customer acquisition. It automatically reduces the amount you spend on customer acquisition, because if I am always coming back, it means that the lifetime value increases, right? So you reduce how much you spend on customer acquisition. Second thing is referral. People talk about your brand. So it is people not just patronize and keep patronizing, they also feel in need to talk about it. So if you don't feel that your customers are coming back, if you're having too much, quick customer turnover, the customers who are buying, obviously, if you in a month you're selling 50 pieces, or you have five clients, if you're in service business, you have 5 clients in a month, and every month you have 5 clients or have 6 clients, but you're observing that the people who the 5 clients you had this month are not the same 5 clients you had last month. Something is wrong. Yes, you're making sales. Yes, you're having, you're making, people are patronizing your business. However, you're having turnover of customers. People are not coming back. There's a problem, they're not coming back. There's a problem, they're not coming back. So there's a problem that you're not talking about it. There's a problem you're not talking about. So if you're gauging how customers found your business, and one of the most prominent ways that they found your business is through referrals. That tells you that you've done a great work. But if it's simply because you ran an ad, that's how you find your business, and it's not through referrals, then your business really lacks love. You need to be able to infuse or build love into your business. And also, I think another way too is when your internal audience don't feel loved enough, if your employees are disengaged, they're not feeling engaged enough, right? If they're not feeling engaged enough, right? Because if a business has happy customers, right, it reflects on the way the employees, how they feel about the business or how they experience the business. Because this is what I mean. If you've ever worked as a customer care or customer satisfaction agent for a bank, you understand what I mean. You see the pressure you deal with tells you that your brand lacks love, because the way the customers engage the employees shows, that they don't love the brand. The fact they wish they were somewhere else, right? Great. So Julius is saying, what can a brand do to win back customers after a series of disappointing experiences? Okay, so this is a fantastic question. What can a brand do to win back customers? So now you've lost customers, and then you want to. So like I started by saying that one of the focus whenever we're building a brand, we have to realize that it's like a relationship. It's like a relationship with our partners, right? When you've broken trust and you've lost love and you lost attention and all of that, you want to get that back. First, you have to be sincere enough to reaching out with sincerity, right? Reaching out to show, right, that whatever it is first you have to fix whatever it is that was the reason why the customers were leaving. You have to identify it and fix it. Because when you are in a relationship and then you are looking to get back into the relationship and you've not fixed the character issue, right, that probably had messed up the relationship, you'd always come to that point, right? You always come to that point. So first you have to fix it. When you fix it, you have to demonstrate to the customers, right? Show them that you fixed this thing that they've been struggling with, this concern that they had, you finally fixed it. When you've shown them that you fixed it, right, you go ahead to begin to invest all the things we've been saying, right? To surprise and delight them. You go ahead to surprise and delight them. You go ahead to show them how much you value them by personalizing experiences and all of that, bringing them into the community, bringing them to help them, to join in co-creating experiences for the brand, co-creating content for the brand, getting involved in the brand, making them feel like they're part of something, right? They'll always come back and always stay, right? Thank you very much for that question, Julius. Any other question, please? Any other question? I love more questions.
Gideon, I think last question would be from Kufre. She says, what are the practical ways of creating a brand story?
Okay, great. I love that question, right? Because a brand story, I mentioned 2 things. I said having a brand story and having subsets of narratives, right? And it's very powerful. The first thing is, when you're building, like I started by saying, when you're building a brand story, you have to be able to understand. You have to first of all understand what's the emotional connection that the customers have with you already, right? Like I mentioned with the example with the lady who has a closet that she feels always ashamed. She feels always ashamed, right? So now they know that this is when the customers think about us, they think about us as the people who take their shame away, right? That is what they think. That's how they think about us. The people who help them take their shame away. So first of all, I have to understand why the customers really choose you beyond the functional level. You have to, first of all, you have to drill deep to understand that. And again, I recommend Atlantic. You have to engage their services. They have a very amazing research service that, you know, that would help you identify why the customers really care about you, right? So when you're able to identify that first, right? And then you were able to build a narrative. Building a narrative, you always have, you know, the introduction, you have the climax, you have the denouement, right? You have, like I shared with this the Nike story. It started by saying, you know, whenever you're running, the introduction, and then it gets cold and you're scared in dark. That is the climax. Remember that we are always the brand that will always be there for you. You know, denouement, right? So it is a structure. You know, it's be able to capture their interest, right? Show them that you understand the pain, right? And then show them that that your brand can fix. Your brand is the hero. Your brand can fix whatever it is that they are dealing with, right? But beyond that brand story that you've articulated, you want to be able to have pockets of narratives, right? That is tying to that, you know, to that brand story. You want to talk about the founder. You want to capture the founder story, right? How did the business come about, right? People need to know. If people know why you are doing business, I think they will connect they'll connect with you better, and they also commit to the business more. If they know your why. So being able to talk about the founder story is fantastic. Also, talk about the people of the business, right? Talk about the people of the business. Talk about your unique advantage. What makes you different? What makes you better, right? Tell stories around it, right? Tell stories around it. There's a particular page on Instagram where I think it's Uber that has that page, right? And Uber, the page is only the post stories from what people share sitting behind the cab. So you can just go there and read stories around what people share when they sit behind an Uber cab, right? These are told by Uber drivers, so they just collect it and tell on that. So those are stories to tell. Those are customer stories, right? Talk about your wins as a business. Talk about your failures. Most businesses don't talk about their failures, but customers who feel a sense of connection, they want to help you win more if they understand that you understand why you feel and how you're feeling. For example, the story of so imagine SVB, the bank in the US that just failed. Imagine they had, you know, begin to engage their customers, you know, they're able to tell stories and help the customers understand what they're dealing with and how they're working around it. Even when they fail, the customers would be interested to help them out of it because they're connected to the entire business. They know the ins and outs, they know the struggles of the business. Talk about your wars, talk about your fears, talk about your hopes. Right? There's a fantastic movie on Showmax on the Uber story. It's a fantastic movie, right? And in that movie, when Uber rather were dealing with local cabs and they were dealing with local cab union, right? They were able to share the story. They were talking about it. They came to the press, talk about the customers that this is what we're dealing with and all of that. And the customers will feel connected to it. They feel like we're all part of this war. It's us against them. The customers will feel like, oh, this war is us against them. We're part of it, right? So talk about your fears, talk about your hopes as a business, talk about the things you're trying to do, the things you're trying to achieve. Let the customers, talk to them as you would talk to a partner. Let the partner engage you with the stories you share, let your customers understand. Let them see how authentic and vulnerable your business can be. When I mean vulnerable, I don't mean how porous service or quality can be. Talk about how vulnerable it is, how open you are. If you're a restaurant, you want to show them how you make the process of sourcing your product. How you get your product. If you go to TikTok, the whole of content on Get Ready With Me with fashion designers who show you how the behind the scene of how they get ready for outings and all that. That I can talk about it right now. They've even built they've built an identity around the GROWM, and it's a big thing now on social media, right? That's how consumers are interested to know the backstory. They want to see the things beyond the flashy and the interesting things that you present. They want to see how you get ready, how you look, how you get ready to look good. What role does customer service play in building brand loyalty, and how can customer and businesses trace the success of their customer service? Great. There's a company called Zappos. I'm going to talk about a company called Zappos. I don't know if you've ever heard about that company. The company called Zappos. The founder wrote a book called can somebody help me? If you've read that book, it's from the book on. I'm gonna check for it and I'm put it in the comment section, right? So, but it's a fantastic book. But in that book, he showed something. He made a statement that one of the things they do in Zappos is that they reward customer service personnel, right? That is able to keep their customers on the call the longest. It's fantastic. That is, if you're able to keep customers on the call the longest, right, you're rewarded for keeping them on the call for the longest. And these conversations is they mandate their customer care and personnel, their customer care agents to go beyond the product and service, to ask to ask stories about your life, to talk about you and your family and all. They want to keep you talking, they want to keep you engaged, they want to hear you talk. And if you want to buy a footwear brand for an online footwear store, if you want to buy a footwear from them and they don't have that particular footwear, they recommend you to a store online that has it. They recommend you to a store that has it. Even if they don't have it, they recommend you to an online store that you can buy it, right? You don't forget that business. You can never forget it. You can never forget such businesses, right? You can never forget such businesses. And if your customer care personnel, if the culture around your business is not one that empowers, all right, or even assists or helps, or even mandates the customer care personnel to focus on delivering quality experience when customers engage them, right, it will negatively impact on loyalty, because nobody wants to go back to a house, right, that the security guy, threw them out. Nobody wants to go back there. Nobody wants to go back to a house where they didn't even give them a seat to sit down, right? They said, oh, do and be going. Nobody wants to go back there, right? And so your customer care personnel, is as much as everybody has a role to play, customer care personnel are people who actually have a direct impact, have a very, very important impact on loyalty. You want to be able to have people who are people who are very who are people friendly, who want to engage people, not people who are feeling. I mean, if you've ever spoken to customer care in the bank, you understand what I'm saying. They always act like they are doing you a favor to talk to you, right? So you want to have people who really want to, who want to really engage people, who want to talk, right? Who want to really share. One question says, I have different areas of interest, but how do I build a single brand story? How do I build a single brand story around my different services? How do I build a single brand story around your different services? So, first of all, I believe that this is also a very fantastic place where Atlantic can help you with. They can help you build a very strong brand architecture, a very solid brand architecture, because that's the first thing you have to do, defining a brand architecture, right? That helps you structure resources or structure narratives, around your multiple expressions. However, just because for the purpose of this session, I'm going to throw ideas to you. I'm going to throw ideas to you, right? Just for the purpose of this session. Very importantly, you want to look for a single. Again, it is beyond. For example, Samsung, right? Or Apple, for example. Apple has different products. They have their phones, they have a laptop, they have watches, they have different products. However, they have a narrative. They have a narrative that encompasses everything. They have a singular narrative that encompasses everything, regardless of the product, right? Regardless of the product. So, guys, I am very, very sure that Atlantic can be a great help for this, because I can't take more questions. But if you have a need to build your business, to build your brand, if you have a need to communicate your brand effectively to customers, so much that they should care about it, stop on their track and connect with you, Atlantic can be that people. They can help you construct a narrative, construct a message that your customers want to hear, right? They want to connect with, they want to stay connected with, right? So guys, thank you so much your attention. Thank you for listening for this hour plus. Thank you so much. Hope you got value from this.
All right, thank you so much, Gideon. It's been such an insightful session. I really wish we had more time, to be honest, because I have like loads of questions to ask. But due to time constraints, we are unable to take any more questions. We would, however, appreciate your feedback on the session and suggestions on how we can improve. You can put that in the chat box. Please remember to follow us on our social media handles as displayed on the screen. We are at Atlantic on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And if you need any assistance or information about our next Grow with Atlantic session, click on the link right in the chat box. On behalf of the Atlantic team, I would like to say a big thank you to our amazing speaker, Gideon Thompson. I mean, I learned the importance of having a brand story and also personifying that brand to relate with the personality of your target audience so that there's that connection, so that success can be achieved as a brand. We really enjoyed every bit of the conversation and we look forward to hosting you again soon. And I would also like to say a huge thank you for everyone that joined us. I mean, I saw someone from Ghana, Lucky, I think, Lucky Mark, thank you so much for coming. And then those from Ibadan, Owerri, Calabar, and our fellow Lagosians, and I think someone from Abuja as well. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. We hope that this session has been enlightening and rewarding, and as it has been for us. We really look forward to hearing from you. And please do enjoy the rest of your evening. It's bye for now.